Today we're going to be cutting short layers at home, and this is something where it may be a little bit easier than cutting on longer hair and longer layers, but I figured, a lot of times people when they get short haircuts, they may go home, and this is male or female. Today's video is predominantly, I would say, more female, but anyone can use this. So it's pretty much a unisex technique and methodology, but sometimes you may go home and you may feel like your hair isn't laying properly, there's something wrong with it. A lot of times it ends up just being the haircut itself. It's just not balanced. So in this video, in this tutorial, I'm going to kind of go over some techniques and methods you need to absolutely understand when it comes to cutting your hair at home when doing layers and short layers in particular. And with anything at home, I always say do this at your own risk. Okay, especially if you are attempting to do this 100% on your own. You know what I mean? This gets more challenging. So I'm using water. This is just plain water. You can do this, maybe after you wash your hair, get out of the shower, however you wash or dampen your hair. And I'm using my anti-static vent brush, which is an amazing vent brush right here. And I'm also going to spray some of my 25 spray in. I'm going to shake this up right here. Give it a good shake, and this is going to help keep the hair moisturized. And if you do have this or purchase this, make sure you press down firmly and rapidly. Don't be afraid, because that's going to help make it more of a mist, because it's a thicker liquid consistency. If you just lightly press it, it's not going to be strong enough. So that's going to help dilute the product itself. So this is going to help keep the hair a bit moisturized. The first thing you want to do is figure out how long or short do you want the layers on your hair. So I mentioned we're going to go a little bit more on the shorter side, and let's get a little bit closer right into here. You want to establish your guide, right? Your piece of hair like this, that's going to be the piece that's going to be kind of the reference point for the length of how long the layers are going to be. It's very, very important, because what happens is, say for example you cut this too short, and then this is really, really long, it's not balanced properly, it becomes a nightmare. Or if this is way too long and this is too short, it's just not going to, so it's all about balance. And it's okay to have little variations, meaning slightly shorter, shorter here and slightly longer, that's totally fine as long as everything is connected. You can have short layers, but if you want this long, it has to connect, and the way you hold the comb and the cutting angle is important. Again, you can see how it gets more and more complicated not being a hair professional. But the first thing we're going to do to simplify this is let's establish the first section and the first part of how long we're going to have this length. So when you're cutting your hair yourself, you want to basically stand behind like this, obviously, and you're going to be combing upwards. So you're going to be combing from behind and upwards, and you're going to try to lock in that section. So you're going to comb, lock in from underneath with your fingers, and you're going to pull to where you want the length to be. And that existing length above your fingers is where you're going to cut. So let's just say that you're trimming your hair, right? Or this is how long you want your hair to be. Your hair could be this long, but you're cutting it to this point. There it is right there. That's a piece. That is our guide of where we're going to connect everything to. Now, whether you go shorter in the back and longer in the front, that all depends. Now, remember this section right here. What we're going to do is we're going to comb all this hair forward, and we're going to take another section right in front. This is my hair cutting comb. That little gap right there helps you section the hair, and then we push that away. So now what we're going to do is we're going to comb this straight up. Again, same thing. And there's the guide, which is the first section we cut, and the longer hair, which is the new hair. And then you cut that. So you see we're following a pattern of keeping this all straight. Now what's going to happen is you're going to get to the point where you're starting to take the guide from the previous section, not all the way back to the first one, because it's going to get a little bit heavier. If you want to keep your hair longer in the front, then you over-direct. That's what we call over-directing, which is you're pulling everything back to that original first guide. If you don't want to over-direct and you want to keep things a bit more balanced and not super, super long in the front and short here, then you go section by section and guide by guide. So all you do is you push the back hair out of the way, your first guide, so you're going section by section and you're able to see the previous guide like that. Now, if you notice, I'm working in one area predominantly which is the middle part, like the middle of the head, the top of the head. I'm working down the middle. Or think of this as like the mohawk. So I'm working off of a mohawk section because I like to go middle, corners, sides, or top, corners, and sides when I'm cutting hair. That really helps keep me more balanced, and it really, really makes things a lot easier. So here we go. Now we're getting towards the front right here, and I'm cutting just like that. Again, push this hair out of the way. And this, if your hair starts to get too dry, then go ahead and add some water to it. This is purely just water. And you want to make sure the hair is fairly damp and consistently damp, because if it's like really dry in the front and soaking wet in the back, it's not going to work out too well for you. All right, there we go. Push the hair out of the way. Here's the next section. There's the previous part from under the last section, which I could see. And then we're going to go into the last section right here. And this is really, really important. So right here, let's comb this a bit more out this way because the hair goes out from the head, not necessarily up. And there we go. Now, mind you, we're not even close to being done. We just worked on the top area and through here. So now what I want to focus on is the corners. We're going to go back to where we first started, right back in here, and we're going to now cut the corners. The corners is where the hair rounds out. So just keep it very simple. The top of your head, the corners of your head, and the sides. We're cutting the corners. Depending on the shape you want, right? Now I'm going to cut this more of a rounded shape to keep things more balanced. Then there's a square shape where you're cutting it like this, where it's going to be really heavy here and it's going to be much flatter to the head in through here. If you have a very rounded head and you want to kind of make the illusion of your head's not as wide, you're going to probably cut more square. If you want it to be even more flat and longer, then you're going to go triangular, which is going short to long on an angle this way. This is really going to keep those pieces heavier and longer coming down through here. So we're going to cut it round, which is basically the way it grows out from the head. Hair grows out, all right? So we're going to work our way towards the front. And again, this applies to, this is unisex. This is for any human being who has hair in their head who's trying to cut shorter layers at home. Okay, there we go. Now I just cut that corner right there. And we're going to the very, very front. There's that longer piece of hair. And there it is. Now, we go down to the sides. The sides is all the way on the very, very, very bottom. And yes, you do have to cut the sides, because if you don't, then what's going to happen is it's going to be very, very unbalanced. I'm going to spray this down with a little bit more water, just like this, to keep the hair balanced and having it moisturized so I can cut a bit more evenly. And same thing. So let's start from the corner, or I'm sorry, the side down through here, back where we first started. And we're going to now comb this all straight out. Now you're going to see, whoa, this is much shorter and this is much longer. Now this was from a previous haircut, so depending on what you want to do, there we go. We're just cutting and balancing everything. So there is the piece right there. So you're going to see where the last piece of the corner ends and the sides begin. That's where you need to start. So let's go up one more time, a little bit higher, and there we go. And depending on everyone's head shape, it's gonna require a different type of cut because everyone's head shape is different. So push that out of the way, and we're going to start from up here where we left off. There's where we left off, and we're going to cut it. Now for you, if you're attempting this at home, I want you to pay close attention to this part right in through here. Okay, this is your length, this piece. If you cut this, you are going to cut the length, which means you could create a hole in through here, which you don't want. However, if you are going a bit shorter and that length was too long to begin with, then you're going to have to go back in and fix that. Right? You're going to have to fix that because we didn't really establish the length. Establishing the length is something that is very, really important. But I'm going to show you an easier way of how to do this. And there's two ways of establishing the length. So let's just finish this side right in through here. Okay, just going in the corner and working my way down. Now, if you have to start from kind of like corner off the corner and work your way down, as long as you're following a pattern like this to where everything ends up, straight out from the head like so. Okay, there's that length right there. When I cut that, I actually cut the length, the actual length, and you can see it's much shorter in through here. And now there's a little bit of a gap. That's because we never really established the length. This is more about cutting layers in your hair. So one thing we can do for the length, and you can see now we have it a bit more balanced, but we've got this, kind of slight gap in through here, and then this is much longer in through here. So how do we fix that? Well, all we need to do is strengthen up this line. There's the line right there. And you can actually cut it forward this way. And you can use the comb if you're looking in the mirror, and you can cut up like this. There it is right there. You can comb forward, and wherever that shorter piece ends and the longer piece begins, then you cut like this. And you can see we just strengthen that line up right away, and there's no more worries now. We have a nice blended connected shape. You can see it through here. Now you could start with the length first, and again, if you're doing this yourself at home, you are going to be combing forward like this. And then you can use the comb as kind of like to help position and hold the hair in place like that, or don't even use the comb and cut upwards like this. So you're combing, and then you can even go down this, well, it's going to be kind of tough that way, but you can hold the hair out slightly and look for those pieces, and then there you go. So it's all about, you're going to be coming from behind and cutting up. You have to make sure you're using a mirror, obviously, but a lot of times if you comb the hair like this and you don't touch it, you could actually go and lightly press the comb and come and use the shears from underneath and slide from underneath without even using a comb. And it's just about being really careful. You can see I took the point, I placed it underneath. I'm not closing it, but I'm manipulating and moving the hair. I'm lifting the hair with the shear. And then I'm going to get to that very edge and cut. All right, so now we did this one side. I'm just going to focus really on this one side and through here. How do you connect and make sure it's even Steven? So what I'm going to do is you want to go in on the side that you cut, which is, we started off on this side, and I'm just going to go on a different angle this way. And what we're going to do is you want to, actually, let's go this way. I'm going to go this way here so you can see better. I'm going to comb everything down, and I'm going to pull it out from the head like this. And watch what happens. There's that little bit of hair that's slightly longer right there. That little bit of hair that's slightly longer, and I'm going to cut that, just like that. Now, next thing, I'm going to comb this hair over, and I'm going to comb the hair straight up, and that little bit of hair right there in the very, very front, what that's doing, it's making sure everything is balanced and even, okay? Balanced and even. You have to comb your hair to check it. So this is what I call cross-checking or checking, and do that throughout the entire top. So we started off horizontally, going across. Now we're checking vertically this way. So once again, we started off cutting horizontally across like this, and now we're checking vertically this way, okay? We're checking vertically. And what that's going to do is just going to give us a better angle of how the hair is laying. Now, if you are someone who is using my tutorial or my tutorials to cut hair, this is extremely valuable if you're someone executing this on someone else. And yes, if you are a hairstylist, this is also very valuable for you as well. I'm trying to simplify this to be a lot more consumer friendly, but you can also learn from a lot of my professional tutorials. And I even have online courses. I have a couple of online courses, one for fully in-depth, detailed, step-by-step men's layered haircut, and then one for my signature layered haircut, which I would charge $300 for a haircut, and it's like $60 or $50 to purchase, and you have access to that course. So something that's really, really amazing and very valuable. You could also check out my other videos here on YouTube if you want more in-depth tutorials. So now that we've got that, the back, it comes to the back. Now here's where it gets a little bit challenging, is you have to make sure that you're pulling all the hair and combing it straight up to that first guide. And hello again, we meet again. There's that guide, there's that first section from before. And what you're going to do is pull everything up to this one point, right in through here. Now, what's going to happen is you'll be able to see the guide from behind, but it's going to get to a point where you can't really see where the length is in the back. That's where it gets challenging. So what's going to happen is you're going to have to kind of comb the hair and tilt your head on an angle as much as you possibly can so you can see the back, and you're going to try to match. You have to try to match that first guide in through the top here. Because what's going to happen if you comb everything straight up the entire back, it's going to be short here and really long down and through here and somewhat wispy. So if you want a haircut that is like, a lot longer throughout the bottom, then combing everything straight up will be helpful. When you get to the corners, meaning like this part back here, this part of the head, you're going to have to comb up like so. You're going to have to comb, and you're going to comb up and out. So when you comb up and out, you'll be able to see the hair. So a lot of it is combing and combing and combing to where you see what you can cut, okay? And then you're going to cut. So it's combing out, and then it's going to help you, okay? Also make sure, once again, make sure the hair is damp. Now you're going to see longer pieces. It's okay to see those longer pieces because you haven't cut them yet as you comb the hair out. Just make sure you're not recutting those shorter pieces, and you'll be able to see the difference. It'll be shorter and then longer. The longer parts are what you want to cut. Now keep in mind, like I said, if you want to keep your hair a lot longer, just make sure that you're not combing this all the way and you're just taking chunks out of the bottom. You always want to cut on top of that section. This is the last part you want to cut. You can even let it drop out, because if you cut that, then you're going to end up being in a little bit of trouble. Now let's just say you finish the haircut, you blow dry it, and you're like, oh, I like it. It's a little, a little on the thicker side. Well, that's where these thinning shears come into play right here. They have the notches on them. These are my shears right here. They have this, they say the TheSalonGuy on my logo, so they're my official shears. I do sell these on my website, and I am offering a code YouTube20 for 20% off. YouTube20 at shop.thesalonguy.com. I don't have thinning shears, but thinning shears are the ones that have the notches right here in them. So what I tend to do when the hair is fully dry, this side's fully dry, I'll go in, make some twists like this, and make a little chomp. One little chomp, and that's it. Even on the top here, if your hair is really, really, really heavy and you want a lot more texture and movement to it, then this is a great idea, a great tip that you can do. This is, again, more of an advanced technique, but it's experimenting. But you need to make sure you have a lot of hair. And then once you do it once, you get comfortable with it, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's it. Keep in mind, when you wash your hair, you're going to see a ton of hair just coming out, because that's all the hair that was previously cut that's just sitting inside and laying on top of the other hair, right? So don't be afraid when you do this and then you go to shake your hair and you go, oh my God, there's hair falling out everywhere. You just cut it. So it's got to fall somewhere. So this is my method of layering. Try to simplify it for people if you're cutting this at home, if you're cutting shorter layers at home, even if you want a little bit of more of some more texture to your hair, you feel like it was unbalanced. The key is checking for balance. That's what it comes down to. A lot of times when I've done haircuts on clients, when they've come in and they, salon guy, I need you to help me, I'll hold the hair up, and it's just because it's simply uneven. This is a lot longer. Why is your hair isn't laying properly? Oh, because it's unbalanced, and it literally is the most simple thing to fix. And you could do the same thing. So don't forget, code YouTube20 at shop.thesalonguy.com, and let me know if you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon.